Hello, my friends, and welcome to the Seeds and Weeds podcast, brought to you by Small House Farm. Are you a gardener, a forager, an herbalist? Maybe you're just a little plant curious? You've come to the right place. This is Seeds and Weeds. Howdy, friends. Welcome back to the show. Today we are celebrating the summer solstice. Today we're going to be talking about what's happening out there in our summer gardens and some particular chores and activities that we might want to consider to help our garden plants beat that summer heat. We're also going to have herbalist Mary Colvin on the show to talk about one of our favorite summertime herbs, lemon balm. Melissa Officinalis.
Hey guys, welcome to summer. Summer is really busy for us at Small House Farm. Most of our crops are in the garden already, but we are kind of focusing on maintaining those crops, which includes, a whole variety of tasks like weeding, trellising, watering. That keeps us really busy.
Yeah, the weeding alone is a nonstop chore, it seems like. Those weeds grow so fast. You get a place done, you get finished weeding here, you turn around, you got to weed it again. It seems like nonstop weeds. Our beans need poles to climb. We run strings for our beans to climb. We're doing the Florida weave on those tomatoes. That's a weekly chore. Watering is a big thing this time of year, making sure everybody's happy, especially the young plants that are out there or the bean seeds. We've got to keep those areas, moist and well watered to keep those plants happy. And then that means it's also time for mulch. A lot of mulch happening. We're actually going to dig into mulch a little bit later in the show. So we can really explore different types of mulch that we can use and the benefits of that. But that is an important summer activity indeed.
Well, good thing that I try to find a use for those weeds.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's the cool thing about weeds. What the heck is a weed anyways? It's just a plant you don't know what to do with yet. So it's really cool to be able to find so many uses for these plants and put them to good use.
Or the plants that come up on their own, the volunteers, so you'll find the volunteer melons or the squashes or sometimes tomatoes and
sunflowers this year.
Yeah, and we had a bunch of volunteer calendula popping up here and there. Oh, nasturtiums. So that's kind of fun. Some of them I like to leave and some of them I don't. But those are a fun little surprise.
Absolutely. And we're growing intentionally a bunch of fun crops this year, too.
Yeah. And some interesting things I know we've mentioned on the podcast before, but now they're actively growing. They're really fun to watch. Peanuts and chickpeas are really interesting leaf structures and they're really pretty. I'll post a couple of pictures on the Patreon because they're really cool.
Yeah, they are beautiful plants, so I'm really excited about growing those and watching them now that they're really gotten established and they're doing well. They're very attractive plants. They're really fun to grow. We're also growing some amaranth, of course, which is just beautiful. And the flax, we got some really nice patch of this blue flax going out there, and it's doing really well.
Yeah, and actually just this morning before we went to record, I saw that they were flowering for the first time. So that was really exciting. Now, is it exciting, though? Do we want those flowers to already be blooming?
It seems a little sooner than I wanted. I was hoping those plants were going to get a little bit bigger before they started to flower. But this is a great opportunity here for us to sort of deadhead these flowers, to pinch these flowers back, which is going to encourage branching, bushier plants. It's going to slow down that reproductive cycle, hopefully allow those plants time to grow larger, so then we'll get more flowers, which means we'll get more seeds, and everybody's going to win for sure. So this is an important activity, actually, that's taking place this time of year. Pinching back those flowers. This is something we're going to do on a number of plants, pinching back those flowers to help encourage more vegetative growth.
Definitely things like peppers and tomatoes that prematurely like to put out flowers that those plants are not big enough to be producing fruit. So pinching back all of them, which feels really hard sometimes. Like you're like, oh, they're flowering and they're beautiful, but nope, they are not ready for any babies yet. So pinch those bad boys back. Let them grow bigger.
We just stopped and picked up some pepper plants at a greenhouse, actually, because there's always room for more pepper plants. And we were at this greenhouse and they had some nice plants. So we picked them up and brought them in to put them in the gardens. And they were already flowering. And so it's important when we transplant these peppers into the garden to pinch those flowers back so these plants can put their energy into, well, in this place, root growth so they can get established in their new home, and then vegetative growth to become bigger plants. But we're also going to pinch back flowers on, I think the most common here is going to be like basil. Basil's an important one, pinching those flowers back so the basil could continue to grow. So this is a summer chore, but like I said, this is a chore we're going to be probably doing well through the summer and into the fall in some cases to keep those plants growing.
So, and back to what's new on the farm, Bevan has been traveling a lot. He just got back from, well, he had just finished the tour, which we talked about in the last episode, but then he went to Seattle.
It was a blast. I did so many fun things. Mountain Rose Herbs, number one, the store itself, beautiful. What a gorgeous place. It was so cool. Gorgeous store, wonderful people. What a selection of herbs. It was fantastic. If you're ever in the area, if you're ever near Seattle, put this on your list of places to visit because it was fantastic. It was right downtown. So before the event, I'd gotten settled in and I walked around and I went down to the Pike Place Market, which is really, really cool. It's actually the oldest continuously operating farmers market in the United States. And it was hopping. This place was fantastic. It was multiple floors. It was so cool. It was a really, really good trip. The weather was beautiful. All in all, totally a success. I met some great folks, sold a lot of books, drank some tea. It was a win for sure. And I'm actually headed back to that area in a week or so. I'm going to be flying back into Washington, actually, at Spokane this time, the other side of the state, but I'm driving over to Idaho for the Modern Homesteading Conference, which is in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. And this is another great event that I think people should check out. These homesteading events are so much fun because all these like-minded people come together to talk about homesteading and gardening and growing food and being more self-sufficient and building community and all these types of things. And it's just like, it's such a cool vibe, to be around. It's a really, really good time. And this will be my second year at this event. I'm going to be talking about growing perennial plants. I'm going to be talking about straight up vegetable gardening. And I'm just really excited to see everybody again and spend some time with folks.
And that's the Modern Homesteading Conference.
Modern Homesteading Conference. I'll put the link in the show notes if anybody wants to check it out. And I highly recommend that you do.
Cool. And then on a more personal note, we have been, we're on a kayaking challenge this summer. Or actually, I guess I should say this season. During the times that we're able to kayak from spring to fall, we're trying to get 50 miles of kayaking in. So we're actually already up to 20 miles. So we're doing pretty good.
I think we're going to nail this challenge. I don't think it's going to be a problem at all. You never know. Things are going to get busy. It's a busy season. I shouldn't get too far ahead of myself, but I'm very confident in our progress so far. But even if we don't hit the 50 miles, it's getting us out on the river. It's getting us out on the lakes and the water. In those kayaks, we're spending time together. It's been super fun. Heather actually posted a video. I don't know if it was a reel or a story over on Instagram. We were out there harvesting linden from the river, right from the kayak, because the trees are the branches are hanging over the water and all the linden is in flower right now. And it's just been so beautiful. And we've seen all sorts of wildlife out there.
And plants. Actually, we've never really foraged on the river like this before. So we've noticed nettles and we just found wild rose yesterday. And
elders are almost about to bloom.
Yeah. And so that's been kind of a cool experience for us because we have our places we're always used to foraging, but not on the river. So what a cool, fun new addition.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been extra fun. And plus, we might hit those 50 miles. So we'll keep you updated on the kayak challenge as it goes for sure. So, that's just a fun thing for us to do. And also, speaking of fun things, Heather has got herself a little project. You might remember, I think it might have been the last episode I was talking about. I built a little stone wall, and that was super fun for me. Well, Heather's got a project too. Heather, tell us about it.
I'm making an outdoor shower, which is something that I've wanted to make for years. Very simple. It's just going to hook up to the garden hose. So it's just, I suppose, technically cold water, but when your hoses lay around in the yard and they warm up and I got 200 feet of hose before it even hits, the end of the hose. So it can have plenty of warm water to get me a nice little shower. So I made a cool shower out of some leftover wood from an old bed. So it's all reused, repurposed material, an old shower head from our bathroom redo we just did, and so on and so forth. It's been really cool. I love doing these kind of projects. So I'm really close to finishing it. I maybe will post a picture. I'm a little self-conscious about that thought, but I love the idea. So anyways, that's my fun project to mention.
If you post a picture, are you going to be in the shower?
No. But right now, what has been keeping me the busiest is the Patreon boxes. So we're about to we are at the summer solstice. And that means that the Patreon members that are in the certain tiers get these seasonal herb boxes.
I'm sure you're familiar with this. Every season we talk about the season, the spring equinox, the summer solstice now, and we're talking about these Patreon boxes because they go out to coincide with the seasons. We have so many members now, the amount of boxes that need to be prepared to send out has also grown, and it has turned into quite task, which is awesome. It's absolutely exciting to see the level of participation, how much people enjoy getting these items. It's just such a cool thing to do, even though it can kind of honestly be an overwhelming task at times.
Because, everything we do here at Small House Farm is just us too. But no matter what, I love these boxes, and I've done some really cool things in this next box. I almost feel like I've outdone myself, and I sometimes feel that way each season, that like, how am I going to top this?
Give us a little teaser. Maybe one of the products that's in the box.
Well, okay, but just yesterday I made a simple syrup. And if you've ever made a simple syrup before, you'll know that it's super simple. And it's a great way to utilize herbs in your garden that you're not really sure what to do with. And all you have to do is just make basically a concentrated tea, and then boil it and add sugar to it, and it becomes this simple syrup product. And you can add it to your sparkling water, your teas, your coffee. You can put it in baked goods. You can put it on pancakes. Yeah. I mean, so there's so many ways to use it. And I know that it's a really basically like a really concentrated form of sugar. But you got that herbal flavor, and it's a fun, easy thing to do, especially with little kids. It's a fun way to get them into the kitchen and show them how to use herbs.
You didn't mention what herb that you use. Is that top secret?
Is it?
You'll decide. While you think about it, I will mention some folks might be concerned about maybe the quantity of sugar in a simple syrup. They don't want to use white sugar, but you can absolutely use evaporated cane juice. You could use agave syrup. You could use honey, you know what I mean, to make these simple syrups. So there's a number of ways to make the product, depending on what you're into. But it is such a fun way to work with the plant.
Super fun. So that brings us to the shout outs. We've had a good handful of people that have joined the Patreon since our last episode. We like to give them a little shout out on air. So Bevan, take it away.
Okay, big time thank you to our latest members. We have got Lacey Hargrave, Hannah Cobley, Minden Humphrey, Jennifer Story, Janet Baker, Gail Lesneski, and Lisa Kincaid. Thank you, my friends, for being a part of our community. Remember, it is your support that allows us to do so many of the fun things we do at Small House Farm, in particular, this podcast right here. So if you're listening to the podcast and you enjoy what you hear, you liked what we're doing, and you want to show your support, please consider joining our Patreon community, friends. You can find a link to the Patreon down in the show notes, or you can simply go to patreon.com/smallhousefarm.
Long days and big rewards in the season of abundance. Summer sure does have a way of sneaking up on us. We're so busy, mesmerized by the springtime dance, that we hardly notice when the maple trees begin to drop their seeds like small helicopters twirling on the breeze. The days have gotten much longer now. Butterflies greet us in the herb garden as they flutter about in the sun. Everything seems so busy. The air is practically humming with activity. Not long ago, the days were cool and breezy, and now, under summer's hot sun, we're thankful for even the slightest of cool breezes upon our sweaty brows. Ox-eye daisies line the roadsides, stretching upward towards the sun, and the delicate lavender-colored flowers of prunella dot my yard where the noble dandelions once held court. There's much work to be done, but we must remember to stay hydrated and take the time to stop and smell the roses. And I mean that literally. Things are moving hot and fast. We need to be ready to celebrate each precious herb as it's available, but it's imperative that we also dedicate time to caring for ourselves if we want to make the most of this lively season. We can spend mornings working in our gardens and afternoons hiking the fields and forests, searching for summer's secret herbal treasures. The days are long and the work is fun. Let's bask in summer's glory and enjoy these special moments while they last. Summer is the season of celebration. The world is alive once again. Soak up the warmth of the golden sun. Let it penetrate your skin and fill you with energy. We can preserve our harvest to see us through the coming winter. And we can hold on to these bright summer memories to fill our spirit with joy when we're faced with the gray, gloomy days that are just a few months away. These are the moments we've been waiting for. Let's make them count.
Wow, Heather, thank you for sharing that. That was an excerpt from my newest book, Herbs in Every Season. Of course, that was the introduction to the summer chapter. And that's going to bring us to, let's really dig into the summer solstice concept, because that's what we're here to celebrate. That's what's going on. So the summer solstice is the longest day of the year. which means that it's also the shortest night. So leading up into this moment from the winter solstice, the days have continually gotten longer and the nights have slowly gotten shorter. And now we are at the peak. And this is because of the way that the earth is tilted. On the summer solstice, we experience maximum exposure to the sun, which is what's going to give us that longest day. But it's interesting to note in the southern hemisphere, and this is important, we actually have a lot of listeners from the southern hemisphere below the equator, in particular Australia, New Zealand, places like that. We have a lot of listeners in that area. And for them, being on the other side of the equator, this is actually their winter solstice. It is completely the polar opposite for them. So while we're celebrating the summer solstice, they're celebrating the winter solstice. So for all of you tuning in from below the equator, all of our south of the equator friends, happy winter solstice to you. But together we are celebrating the solstice and the movement of the sun through our lives.
There's a bunch of traditional ways that people have celebrated the solstice, certain activities that they've done to or that people have done throughout history to appreciate the season.
Sure. Some of the most exciting, of course, being bonfires. A big fire kind of represents the sun in a way. So having a big bonfire is a nice way to do it. Festivals, dancing, sometimes even dancing around those fires, whatever it might be. Crafting and wearing crowns of flowers is a really nice way to celebrate the season, because now that the flowers are becoming more abundant, we want to bring them into our lives, and adorning our heads with these flowers and then dancing around a fire. Sounds like fun to me.
Sounds lovely.
Yeah, it sounds like a good time. Going swimming. A lot of folks that live closer to the oceans, traditionally plunging yourself in the ocean is a way to celebrate the season, which sounds appropriate because now it's so much warmer. We're kind of doing that. We're getting out on the kayaks, so in a way we're celebrating the season by being closer to the water, which is really nice. A really popular monument, I'm sure most all of our listeners are familiar with, Stonehenge. It's a circular monument built of stones, and it's often believed by historians that it is some sort of a solar calendar that is used to help mark the seasons. And the reason they believe that is because on the summer solstice, you can see the sun will rise up over the same stone every time, every year. It'll rise up over this one stone, and that at daybreak of the day of the summer solstice, the sun will shine through the rocks and light up the very center of the circle, right? So that was a great indicator of this being certainly a calendar, possibly a place for gatherings historically. But in modern times, it's definitely a place for gatherings. Thousands of people literally from all over the world will travel to Stonehenge in England just to see the sun rise and watch the sun shine into the circle of stones. And that sounds like a pretty fun tradition, but it's kind of a neat way to think about how the sun and the seasons connects us to each other, not only because people around the world are coming to celebrate this, but also throughout generations of people doing this. So it kind of ties that thread back through history. For hundreds, perhaps thousands of years, people have gathered in the same space to celebrate this exact same moment in time.
That sounds pretty powerful.
Yeah, it sounds pretty awesome. We don't have a big stone circle here at Small House or anything like that, but we do celebrate the summer solstice in a number of fun ways.
And typically that's through a fire.
Absolutely. And we'll have a gathering. Sometimes we'll invite friends and family over to celebrate together. We'll have a big feast, a special meal to celebrate. It's just important to commemorate these moments. Taking the time to celebrate each season and each moment is such an important thing, I think, for us to do.
I know it's busy. I know life is fast. Do what you can. Be where you're at. Really appreciate it.
Right. Absolutely. So you should get out and maybe at least take a walk, go enjoy some nature, whatever it might be. Have a little bonfire if you can. Hug your friends and family, say happy summer solstice. Just go out and stand in the sun and soak in that warmth. Because once winter comes, you're going to want to have soaked in as much warmth as you can right now. And you'll be happy that you did. So today I'd really like to dig into one of our favorite summer herbs, lemon balm, Melissa officinalis. I'm absolutely in love with this plant. We use it for so many different things here at Small House, and it really is the epitome of summer in so many ways. So I thought, let's dig into this plant and explore all the different ways that we can enjoy it. And I thought, let's make this even more exciting, and let's bring in one of our friends, Herbalist Mary Colvin, to join the conversation to talk to us about herbs. herbs. Now, you might be familiar with Mary. Like I mentioned, she's been on the podcast before. She's been a guest here. She is just full of wisdom. Let's let Mary introduce herself.
My name is Mary Colvin. I'm a registered herbalist with the American Herbalist Guild and a clinical herbalist and author of the Herbalist Guide, How to Build and Use Your Own Apothecary.
Lemon balm is a plant that's originally native to the Mediterranean, but now it's kind of naturalized. You can find it in many places in the world. It's a member of the mint family, as you can tell by the square shape of the stem. I feel a lot of the leaf pattern really is indicative of that as well.
It doesn't spread the same way that mint does, though. It can be a little bit more self-contained.
Yeah, you're right. She's a lot more polite. The plant will slowly get larger and take more space over time, but nothing like mint. You know how rude mint can be with all those runners and popping up all over the place and just making himself at home everywhere he wants. Lemon balm is a lot more polite. Melissa officinalis, again, is the species here. And if we study the names of plants, right, we can learn many things about them. Of course, officinalis, officinale, variations of that always indicate that this plant has a long history of medicinal use, and we'll explore many of those uses here in a moment. And then Melissa, of course, being the Roman word for honeybee, because the Romans observed that wherever Melissa grew, honeybees would be attracted. So that's a really nice added bonus to incorporating lemon balm into your garden. And I know that Mary is also a big fan of this plant.
I love and adore lemon balm. I have it located in my vegetable garden right in the aisleway because it does tend to help attract pollinators to the garden also. And I love harvesting the leaves, especially for its aroma. There's nothing better, and it's a must-have herb for me.
Absolutely. Must-have herb is, I couldn't have said that better myself. You know, when I'm recommending plants to folks for their gardens, especially new gardeners, I always like to recommend lemon balm, not just because it's so useful, but because it's so easy to grow. Basically, anywhere that you live, you could likely grow this plant successfully, even if you've got, a brown thumb and, it's a confidence builder, lemon balm is, because it will thrive in most environments. It does well in poor soil. It does well in partial sun. You can harvest it all season long, which is really nice. And you could even grow it in containers. It's a very container-friendly herb. So even if you don't have space for a garden and you're growing on a balcony, you can have a little pot of lemon balm and it will just provide you with herbal goodness all year long.
Even just right now, I have a little piece of leaf and I'm just kind of breaking or, rubbing it between my hands and smelling it. And it just makes you feel happy and brings a smile to your face. It is a lovely, bright smell.
It is. It's lemony. It's fresh and clean. I can smell it from here, Heather, and it's putting a big smile on my face for sure. I do love it so much. So let's dig into some of the uses for this plant. I think that we should probably start actually in the kitchen. Let's explore some of the culinary uses for lemon balm.
A really common use for it is to put it in jelly. And actually, I think a couple seasons ago, I made a lemon balm jelly for the Patreon.
Oh, really?
It must have been last summer or something. I'm not even sure. But that was a fun way to use it. I also read a lot about using it as a different way to make a mojito. So instead of mint, using the lemon balm. That's kind of a fun thing. So
Lemonito?
Yeah.
Lemonito.
Lemonito.
Sure, absolutely. I'd like to grab up a handful of lemon balm right out of the garden, throw it into a jar with water, make some sun tea with it. It's kind of like a little lemonade. That's kind of nice. To bounce off what you're saying about the jelly, to make something like that is so simple to do. And not only with lemon balm, but with any one of our plants, because essentially what you're doing here is you're making a very strong tea from the herb, just like you do with your simple syrup, making very strong tea with it, and then using that tea as the quote unquote juice in a jelly recipe. And it's a beautiful, flavorful, colorful, delightful jelly that's good for so many different things. And that's such an easy way to work with this plant.
Another really easy way to use it in the kitchen would be to add it to like an herbal salt. So you can take any herb really and add it, break it up real fine, dry it and break it up real fine and add it to a salt and then use it to sprinkle on all sorts of dishes.
Sure. And the salt's going to actually help dry that plant out a little bit. It's going to draw the moisture out of it and it's going to act as a preservative as well. We did a herbal salt for herbs in every season. It wasn't lemon balm. We did it with yarrow leaf, I believe. And we used it. We started with fresh plant and the salt drew so much moisture out of the yarrow that it turned the salt itself bright green. It was really cool. And I bet something like that would be same effect. I bet if we used fresh lemon balm for that. Also for the book we did, I really tried to push the boundaries in Herbs in Every Season with some of the recipes. And, we've been talking about them all year, and we will continue to talk about the recipes in this book all year because there's so much fun stuff to share. But with lemon balm, we did a lemon balm shiitake mushroom stuffing. And I know stuffing may be more of an autumn type of a recipe, but if we're having a big summer solstice feast, you might want to have some stuffing with your feast. And we've already harvested plenty of shiitake mushrooms this spring, and now the lemon balm is ready to harvest, and it's going to make such a delightful and delicious stuffing for sure. So that was a really fun recipe to work on, and I think that the lemon balm adds such a vibrant, bright flavor. Mushrooms are very earthy, and adding that bright flavor to it adds such a nice balance to it. Traditional stuffing that would use like sage or something, sage kind of has an earthiness of its own, which complements the shiitake. But I loved the contrast of the lemon balm to really just excite the taste buds and make something that's just going to open up your eyes and make you say, wow, we're celebrating now. That's for sure.
That sounds super great.
All right, let's dig into some of the more medicinal uses for the lemon balm. And there are so many here. We could spend the whole rest of this episode going on and on about the medicinal uses of lemon balm, which again, I think is a testament to how incredible this plant is. Easy to grow, easy to harvest, so versatile to work with. I mean, we're looking at an herb that is a nervine. It's great for digestive complaints. It's antiviral. It's antifungal. Is there anything that this plant can't do? I'm loving it. Let's see what Mary had to say.
My favorite way is to use it as a warm infusion, which some people call as a tea, but I reach for it as a relaxing sedative, especially for anxiety or hyperactivity, tension headaches, or even insomnia. Equal parts of the lemon balm skullcap and chamomile makes a wonderful tea. And it's a great herb to use for children. They love the taste and it's very safe to use for them. I also like using the tea as a wash for any kind of herpes outbreaks, such as shingles.
Interesting what she's mentioning here. Of course, so she's touching on at the end there, utilizing it topically as a wash. That's an important thing to consider. When we make a water infusion, of course, we tend to think of it as a tea or something to drink, but there's plenty of topical uses for this herb as well. And I love what she said about utilizing the herb for anxiety and for stress and tension headaches and that sort of thing. Because lemon balm, although like you mentioned, Heather, it brings joy and happiness, and it certainly does. But at the same time, it's also very calming and relaxing. You know what I mean? So it helps us find joy, not just with the smile that it brings to our face, but by helping alleviate the stress and tension that, could be, depleting our joy, I guess you could say, And of course, it is a great herb for kids because it's a flavor that they enjoy. So it's going to make it a lot easier for them to be interested in taking it as a medicine.
Yeah, a great way to kind of make a play on a lemonade is by making a sun tea or a hot tea made with the lemon balm leaves, and the kids will like it. You can even add a little sugar in it. It becomes kind of like a lemonade. So, and maybe your kids have a lot of energy well into the evening hours, especially with the sun being out so much later. So maybe that's a nice nighttime blend for them. Give them a little chill, calm them down. We all have our stresses throughout every season of the year, but I'm sure we all could use a little stress relief.
A little kitty nightcap, if you will.
Ooh.
Right? So speaking of nightcaps, one of the other recipes that we did for Herbs in Every Season that involved lemon balm was it was a Carmelite water. So now in 14th century France, these nuns from the Carmelite Abbey had developed an herbal tonic for the king, which was reputed to be like this miracle elixir, and it was prescribed for almost everything, a wide list of ailments, right? All sorts of different conditions. And you can't really find the original recipe for what they had made, but you can find all sorts of variations of it, modern takes on it, historical reproductions of what people think it may be like. And there's a lot of variation here, but the common thread through all of these Carmelite tonics is the use of lemon balm. And so to this day, even you can find, like I said, these modern takes on it, all of them utilizing the lemon balm.
But basically, it's just taking white wine and infusing it with a bunch of different herbs.
Well, so some variations you'll see where it's just like a water base, and some are going to use more of an alcohol, so a tincture style type of thing with this, and then some that use the wine. So in the book, we did go the white wine variation with it because I thought that was nice. So this is something that surely has medicinal benefit to it, but also can be an enjoyable summer drink for when we're celebrating the summer solstice and we've got some friends for a gathering and we're having a feast. A little bit of this Carmelite water could be a healthy and enjoyable drink for us to all share with each other, celebrating herbs of the season as well. So I used a number of herbs in the recipe. There's some lemon balm and mint, coriander, juniper, and you can use any kind of white wine that you want. I prefer dry white wine myself, so that's what I use. But if you like a sweeter wine, absolutely, you could do that as well.
I love that. If you're looking to make something way medicinal, though, more like a straight tincture with a higher proof alcohol, there's a really great recipe in Herbs in Every Season also, which is called Simple Lemon Balm Tincture, but I ended up rebranding it for the Patreon boxes and calling it Brighten Your Day Tincture, and it includes lemon balm, mint, and tulsi, all three of which would be so great for anti-anxiety and mood boosting. That's a great one to make. And obviously, like any other tincture, or anytime you take a tincture, you're just taking such a small amount. It's easy, fast, quick. You get it right into your system. And if you make it part of your routine, you'll see the best results that way.
Mary also had some insights about tinctures that she shared with us.
Well, I really like combining lemon balm tincture with other herbs. Think about like bee balm is a great herb to combine it with. I use the tincture specifically for digestive uses, such as antispasmodic for the intestines, for leaky gut, anything like that. So I like calming the digestive system and help stimulating it as well. I still use it for those relaxing nervine too. And I usually recommend a standard dose of 30 drops 3 times a day. But if you need it for more of the sedative action, then I would double that.
I like how Mary mentioned the use of lemon balm tincture for digestive complaints as well. That's an important thing to know. And being in the mint family, you'll see a lot of overlap with plants in the mint family for those sorts of things. So that was an important insight that I'm glad that she shared. So to summarize, I think the lemon balm should be everybody's go-to plant. It's easy to grow, absolutely beautiful, tastes great, super medicinal. I mean, it checks almost every box for all of us. So lemon balm, again, Melissa officinalis, that's totally where it's at. I couldn't let Mary get away, though, without asking her one more question. Since it is the summer solstice episode, I was so curious, how does Mary like to celebrate the summer solstice?
There's nothing better than being out in nature and doing some harvesting and foraging and spending time out there rather than indoors with my hands in the dirt and, working with the herbs and plants.
Summer's a busy time of year. We're celebrating, we're having fun, but we also got a lot of work to do out in the garden. Ironically, we are celebrating the sun and all of the great things that it brings into our lives, but that also includes heat and dry. Our gardens are hot and dry. So we need to do things to help mitigate this situation that the sun is bringing into our lives so our garden plants can thrive and be happy. And the easiest way to mitigate the heat, of course, a little bit of mulch. Utilizing mulch in the garden, it's critical. I think that this is one of the most important things for any gardener to have success, and it's something that any of us can do quite simply. A good layer of mulch in your garden is going to help keep that soil cool. It is also going to help retain the moisture in the soil, which means less watering. Also, it's going to suppress weeds, which is really nice too. It's going to help cut down on that chore, saving us time for other fun things that we want to do in the summer. It's important when we mulch, though, that we have a decently thick layer of it. If you've just got a very, very thin layer of mulch out there, it's not really going to do much for you. It's not going to do, well, any of the things that I mentioned that mulch does. You got to have at least a couple inches of it out there to be thick enough to suppress those weeds, to help retain that moisture, to help keep that soil cool. Nice thick layer of mulch, that's going to be great. But what kind of materials are we going to use to make our mulch?
There's a lot of green organic materials that you could find possibly in your yard or around your neighborhood that aren't being used. So like grass clippings, bark, pine needles, leaves. If those things are accessible to you, they make great mulch around plants.
Some other choices that we might consider would be things like straw, wood chips, sawdust. We do need to consider, though, if we're utilizing some of these things, and I love how you called some of these options green, because in the world of compost, we've got green and brown, right? So the things that I mentioned, things like straw and wood chips and those sorts of things, tend to be considered the brown. If we're adding brown for mulch in our garden, what's going to happen here, as in particular wood chips, is where you're really going to notice this. When wood chips are breaking down and decomposing, they're going to pull nitrogen out of the soil. It's part of the decomposition process, which really isn't that big of a deal unless you're dealing with young plants, new transplants, plants that require a lot of nitrogen, leafy greens and grasses and that sort of thing. They need this nitrogen, and the wood chips are going to be pulling it out of the soil, which can be an issue. So if we're going to utilize wood chips or something like that as a mulch, we need to either use them with mature plants where it's not going to be a matter, or if we're using them with young plants, we want to feed these plants a little bit of nitrogen. Get an organic nitrogen fertilizer. You can make one from Comfrey or something from your garden, whatever it might be, and supplement the nitrogen that is being lost in the soil because of this particular mulch to keep those plants happy. That being said, there are a handful of non-organic options for mulch as well. I know Heather really likes to repurpose broken down cardboard boxes. She uses them often for like the paths in the garden or whatever. It's going to work wonderful for weed suppression. And when you pull that cardboard back, you'll see it retains a lot of moisture in the soil as well, but it really helps keep those weeds down. Is nice. Some folks are going to utilize a landscape cloth or fabric, or you'll even see like a plastic, the agricultural plastic rolls the folks will use, which, I mean, we don't really get into that here at Small House. We're not going to bring all that plastic and roll it out into our garden. But that's not to say that it doesn't have a purpose, right? There's pros and cons to everything here. You'll often see farmers or market gardeners that are growing melons, watermelons, that sort of thing, utilizing this black plastic because it's going to warm that soil really nicely. And if you live in a climate like we do here in Michigan, sometimes you need to get that soil a little bit warmer a little earlier in the year so you have time for these plants that like that warmth to thrive. So, I mean, there's certainly a purpose for it. It's often a one-time use purchase. So again, there's pros and cons to that. But what I say ultimately is use what you have available to you. Use what is going to work best for you. If you have an abundance of leaves, like we do here at Small House, because we live in the woods, we can, break down these leaves and use them as a mulch. It's going to be fantastic. We also use a lot of straw here at Small House. Straw is accessible to us. There's a lot of folks near us and around us that grow wheat. Straw is the byproduct of that. Straw is accessible. We think it makes a really nice mulch. But again, using what you have available to you, what's going to work best for your scenario. Obviously, that's what's best for you. But whatever it may be, use mulch. It's the gardener's best friend. It is going to do so much for us. Again, I'll say it, suppressing weeds, retaining moisture, keeping soil cool. It is going to do so much of the work for us out there. And essentially, it's just replicating what's happening in nature. If you look to the forest, what is the forest if not layers upon layers of mulch? And when you dig down into that mulch, it's the blackest, moistest, most beautiful soil you'll ever see, right? As that mulch breaks down, it feeds the soil. It's doing so much work for us. Mulch, you got to do it.
If you've never went out in the woods and actually dug out a little bit of the leaves and just dug down into the earth itself, you should do it, because actually it's amazing what the forest does on its own to rejuvenate the soil. And by having all those leaves, they're annoying in my garden or they're annoying in the yard. But when I look out to the woods, I realize that they are just replenishing the organic material and remaking the soil.
It's black gold, baby. So the lesson here, of course, is we can look to Mother Nature for everything that we need. Mother Nature is our greatest teacher. And the lesson that we learned from her today, mulch your garden.
Happy summer solstice.
Well, here we are at the end of yet another show together. Big thanks to Mary Colvin for being our guest today and to all of you for tuning in. Remember, if you enjoy the podcast and want to show your support, you can always join our community on Patreon. You can find a link to that and so much more at seedsandweedspodcast.com. This episode was edited and produced by all of us here at Small House Farm, and the music we're enjoying right now is the Jazz Lounge from Street Food. Thanks again for joining us, friends. I'm Bevan Cohen. Get outside, enjoy that sunshine, and we'll see you next time.